Genies become vampires on this week's edition of Spellweaver Deck Tech.
Toss the bucket.
Welcome to another edition of Spellweaver Deck Tech. This week we'll be taking a look at a dual aspect deck called the Vamp Lamp, which notably uses the Lamp of Zephyr and Vampirism. This deck is actually one of my creations that was fleshed out over several nights of livestream events. As you can see from the deck list on the right, there are 62 cards in this deck, which is a little bit more than usual, but there's a lot going on, and with 62 cards, it still plays quite well. There are 17 creatures, 15 spells, 10 artifacts, and 20 shrines. So let's look at each one of these individually. This deck uses 12 Wisdom Shrines, 6 Dominion Shrines, and 2 Cathedral of the Night Skill Shrines, giving you the Vampiric Touch, which allows you to put a weakness emblem on a creature and gain 2 life, one of several ways to gain life when playing this deck. Moving on to the artifacts, there are 2 Helm of Dominions in this deck. Use these sparingly as they are essentially large creature removal by taking control and putting a weakness emblem on them. Keep in mind, if the Helm of Dominion artifact is destroyed, that creature goes back to its original owner. Next, we're going to talk about the Lamp of Zephyr, what the deck is named after, and of course, the cornerstone of this particular deck. When this artifact is on the board, for 2 mana, you can ready and attack in the same turn with a 4 attack, 3 health, 3 speed Djinn, which is absolutely insane when you think about the mana cost of this particular creature, and the fact that it is very difficult to remove. There are only 2 things that can essentially remove this, aside from a Cataclysm, of course. That is an artifact removal, or an instant spell while it's active on the board. Once it's done attacking, if you don't hit it, it goes back in the lamp. In addition, with Vampirism on the board, which we'll talk about shortly, the Lamp of Zephyr gives you 5 attack and 5 health. Vampirism also stacks, so you can see where this quickly becomes a very key card in the deck. Don't lose all your lamps, or you may have trouble winning. And last but not least for the artifacts, we have 4 Obelisk of Unity. These are key to the deck, and you want to get these out as early as possible because they allow you to change your Wisdom aspect shrines into Dominion shrines. They are also a card draw mechanic because every time an obelisk enters the field, under any circumstances, you draw a card. So let's talk about the 15 spells in this deck, starting with 4 New Horizons, another card that you want very early in the game. It allows you to search through your deck and pick the shrine that you want. In this case, we run both Dominion and Wisdom shrines, but because of Obelisk of Unity, Wisdom is the shrine we're looking for, so this is a guaranteed Wisdom shrine level. It also shuffles your deck and allows you to, like I said, use the Obelisk of Unity to turn that Wisdom Shrine into a Dominion Shrine, very quickly ramping up your levels. Next is 2 Electrostatic Storms. I would not recommend running more than 2 Electrostatic Storms. With 2 on the board, you're doing 6 damage randomly to creatures on the board, and it gets really dangerous very quickly. Of note, this is obviously a control mechanism. However, the Lamp of Zephyr is not affected by Electrostatic Storm because it goes back in the lamp after the turn, and Electrostatic Storm triggers at the beginning of the turn before the lamp comes out, or rather, before you activate the lamp by paying 2 mana to bring out the Djinn. The next 2 spells are 3 Assassinates and 3 Cataclysms. 3 Assassinates, of course, are your early removal because this deck, by design, is slow to start, and 3 Cataclysms, which is essentially your oh shit button. And now for Vampirism, one of my favorite spells in the game. It's a little bit expensive, but it is extremely critical to have in this particular deck, because for each Vampirism you have on the board, you get 1 attack and 1 health, and that attack becomes life-bound. If you have 3 Vampirisms on the board, as I have done in practice, your lamps turn into 7/6 lamps that are doing 7 damage and giving you 7 life at the same time. Now keep in mind when you run Vampirism that for each creature you control, you lose 1 life each turn. This is not the case, however, with the Lamp of Zephyr, because the Lamp of Zephyr is an artifact, not a creature. Therefore, by using the Vamp and the Lamp, those 2 cards alone can win you the game. Alright, so let's go ahead and scroll up and look at the creatures. There are 17 creatures in this particular deck, however, they aren't as critical as the Vamp and the Lamp. Starting with Disquisitive Spirit, there are 4 of these, and they're simply here for early presence on the board, and when they die, they draw you a card. So there's a lot of card draw mechanics because we need to dig down to those very important key cards in this deck. Moving right along to the Contraptionist, there are 4 of these, and they are here for one sole reason: to pull out a level 1 artifact from your deck. The Obelisk of Unity is the only level 1 artifact in this deck, therefore giving you essentially 8 chances to draw into that Obelisk of Unity. He can also be used as a blocker to mitigate some of that big damage hitting your face. This deck uses 3 Gnome Power Engineers, which is the artifact and spell removal card. Of side note is that if you do remove an artifact or spell, you gain energy equal to the destroyed card's cost. There is one card in this particular deck, or one card type, that can use that energy, and that is the next one on the list, the Bloodwell Matriarch. There are 2 Bloodwell Matriarchs, and this allows you to play an action card of 2 or less from the enemy hero's graveyard by paying the cost of that card in energy. Another reason why I selected Bloodwell Matriarch to be in this deck is because not only does it synergize well with Gnome Power Engineer, and it's always great to be able to steal your opponent's spells, but with Electrostatic Storm in play, doing 3 damage on both sides of the board, Bloodwell Matriarch can survive that storm. The last 2 creatures in this deck are Drayla, Ruthless Oppressor, and Lord Karthus, the Death Speaker. These are the 2 legendaries, and as such I only run 2 of both of these. Drayla, first of course, allows you to exhaust an enemy creature with level 2 or less, so she can only target a select group of creatures and exhaust them. However, the other aspect of Drayla, for 4 mana you can take control of an exhausted enemy creature for as long as you control Drayla. I highly recommend keeping Drayla on the support line so she's much more difficult to target. And last but not least is Lord Karthus, everyone's favorite legendary. When he enters the field, he destroys an enemy creature. And in doing so, you gain 2 life. Yet another life gain aspect to this deck. Keep in mind that any time an enemy creature dies while Lord Karthus is present on the board, you gain 2 life. This also combos extremely well with Cataclysm, because when Lord Karthus himself dies, he gives you 2 life. So imagine a scenario where Lord Karthus is on the board with a whole bunch of zombies from a corruption deck, and you hit Cataclysm. You can potentially hit a 40 life win in 1 turn. I think you'll find this deck extremely fun to play, a bit challenging at times, but with practice, you too can be a Vamp Lamp master. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Spellweaver Deck Tech. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have any deck ideas, don't hesitate to drop me a line, and you may see your deck featured on another edition of Spellweaver Deck Tech. Until then, keep watching, and I'll see you on the boards. Ready.